Hi guys, Murph here for another NASCAR Heat 5 setup video. For this one we take on my most popular setup video from Heat 4. It's the Cup Car from the Tricky Triangle in Pocono. Tough track to get a good setup on, that's always a compromise between the flat turn 3, the Indianapolis-like tunnel turn in turn 2, and the decently banked turn 1. It's real tricky, as I say, it's a tricky triangle for a reason. I've done both quali race setup, and also I have created a baseline adjustment setup, so one where you just make adjustments from inside the pits. Now for a qualifying run. Uh, Basically, you've got to start off by making sure you get a good run onto the front straight, carry as much speed as possible. You're going to look for the cones on the fence, you're going to look for the second set of cones, the 2 cones, you're going to lift off. You want to get the car below the seam on the bottom and try and hug that yellow line as far as possible until you know you can stay full throttle on the exit. Now, coming up to the tunnel turn, you want to actually use the apron. So when you hit the free cone, start turning and lift off a wee bit, get the car onto the apron, back to full throttle. The car will slide a wee bit, but you can hang on to it and keep it absolutely planted. Now you're looking for the single cone there, you're going to turn in and lift off as well. You're going to carry the throttle to about mid-corner and full throttle from here on out. Carry as much speed down the straight, and that will be a quick enough time to get pole on the hardest difficulty. Now we'll move on to the qualifying setup, that one that just got me pole. Pretty stock standard really, just quite low tyre pressures, lower than you would expect, but that's what seems to work around here. 60% grill tape seems to be bang on. You might be able to get away with 65, but sometimes it overheats, sometimes it doesn't. And you also go for a fairly high rear end ratio because you're not having to worry about the draft. Now, as for the race itself, it is definitely a competitive setup. Against 105% AI, maximum AI, I am very competitive. Generally, I was in the top 3 or 4 most of the time. In this particular race, when I got my act together and hit my marks just about every lap, I ended up finishing P2 and only about a second and a half behind Denny Hamlin. And that was only because I made a mistake going for the lead on the second to last lap. Most of the stint I was right behind him. Drafting is a big factor of this track, so if you can stay in the draft, even if you're a bit slower than the guy, if you can stay in their draft, you will be able to go a bit quicker. So sometimes it might be worth just staying behind somebody and just letting them pull you around the circuit. I think that may have been the case in this race with Denny Hamlin. Now, one thing to watch with this setup in this race is that it will understeer on the first 2 to 3 laps of the stint. That's mostly because I've set it up that way. It does use up the rear tyres a lot more than the front. You get about 20% more wear on the rear tyres. So that way, because of that, I've had to set the car up to understeer a little bit early on, but it will come good. It will come pretty neutral if you don't overdrive the car. If you start trying to carry too much speed into the corners, you will burn up the right front tyre. If you try and push the car too much on the exit, you will burn up the rear tyres. So as long as you don't try and overly push, you will do really well with this setup. Now moving on to the race setup itself, there's a few tweaks, a few changes to the setup from the qualifying. It's mostly again to make the car understeer more at the early part of the run to make it good for the middle to the end of a stint. First major change is the wedge. Goes from 48% up to 49.3. Tyre pressures drop by 1 psi on each corner. Again, you generally want slightly higher pressures for qualifying, so I'll run slightly lower for the race. The next one obviously is grill tape, dropping it down to about 45%. You can get away with 50 maybe, but you don't want to push it. And the final one is the rear end ratio. Set that to 3.25. Now for what I would do for a baseline setup, basically using the slider and then making adjustments in the pits, take the slider all the way over to loose, then pull it back 2 clicks. That's going to be about where I want it, maybe a little loose on that initial stint, but some pit stop adjustments will fix that. Now for the pit stop adjustments themselves, get yourself onto pit lane, make sure you don't get caught speeding. First adjustment you're going to want to make is move the tape up to 45%. Move the wedge up to 50.5 just to get it a bit tight, to make it a bit more snug, and just help the car mostly off the corner. Left front you want to move down to 17.75, same with the left rear. Move the right front down to 41.25 and the right rear down to 37.50. Those tyre pressures are exactly the same as what I run on my actual setup. That's just trying to basically make the optimal pressures to make the optimal contact patch on the road. Then the setup obviously is not going to be as fast as my actual proper setup. The setup I'm doing low 54s, like 54.1, 54.2. Obviously my actual setup is around about the 53.3, 53.4 for a setup. Now, hit me up in the comments if you have found this helpful and useful. Also, let me know if there's any particular car and track combos you want me to do a setup for going forward. I'm always up for taking requests, it especially helps me pick the next tracks I do. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you for the next one. Ciao!